Yo, what's up, Hoop Heads from around the globe, and welcome to another episode of Buzzer Beaters. I'm Eddie Aparicio. This is my co-host, Anthony Tuan Corral, and we are here to talk about the pre-draft reviews. We are going to cover 10 teams today, okay, 2 divisions. We're going to cover 10 teams for the next 3 weeks, 10 teams today, 10 teams the next week, and then 10 teams the last week. And then that's what we'll have our live pre-draft show on Thursday and Friday of June, the 25th and 26th. Anyway, so we're going to go ahead and cover, like I said, we're going to talk about the Central Division first. So we have the formula that we kind of go over all the different, we have a template of things that we want to cover for all the teams. We're going to talk about some things like defensive rating, offensive rating, net rating. We're going to talk about bench and starter points, all these things and how they all rank. And then we're going to talk about the players that target in the free agency for each of these teams. Then we're going to go ahead and talk about who they should draft and talk a little bit about some of the players that they should be drafting if we have some, information on that. Just to set the stage, Tuan and I, we don't watch all the college games, so we don't have much knowledge on all of these players, but we read up on some of these players, and we can only convey what some of these scouts have conveyed to us, from what we read to talk about some of these players. So we don't have all the knowledge of all these players, just a full open kimono on that, but just giving you content so that you can go ahead and just look at some of these players on your own and see if they fit the team that you're following here. So today we're going to talk about the Pistons, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Pacers, and Bulls. Tuan and I are going to alternate for each of these teams. So we're going to go ahead and start off. Tuan, I think you're the first guy to go over with the Pistons. So let's go
absolutely.
over that, man.
So as you mentioned before, we're going to go over their ratings. So in terms of the Pistons ratings this past season, they were 9th on the offensive rating. They had a good year. Obviously, we know they ended as the number 1 seed of the Eastern Conference. So their offensive numbers were 117.3 points per game, which got them up to the 9th ranking. Their defensive rating was 108.9, which is really where they cut their teeth. They were second there. They were a very solid defensive team for an overall net rating of 8.4, which is good for second. Tied for second technically, but I'm sure there's some micro numbers there that actually made them second. Their starting was 76.5, making them 21st in the league, and their bench scoring was 41.3, which made them 11th in the league.
And real quick, that's interesting that being that they were the number 1 seed in the East. And you would think that, anytime, these starter and bench kind of rankings, sometimes it's a little misleading, man. It's interesting that you're pointing out that they're in middle of the tier for bench and starter, yet they were the number 1 seed in the East.
Correct.
That's very interesting, man.
Well, the thing that I'm going to start kind of looking at is how much the ranking for the starter scoring plays into their playoff success.
Yes.
Because the rotation shrinks.
Yes.
Typically, the rotation shrinks. And when they're 21st in starter scoring, what that tells me is they were below average.
Yes.
Starters in terms of scoring. Which kind of correlates to the fact that they were ousted a lot sooner than any of us thought they would be.
Exactly.
So just something to take a look at. In terms of what's fascinating in terms of roster needs, I was going through last year's notes, and the curious thing was roster needs last year. I had Robin for Cade. We needed a secondary shot creator. Still the same need. It was what they needed last year. It's what they need this year. They need somebody that can pick up the slack when Cade can't, is out on the bench or whatever. They need that player, and they haven't had that player up until now.
Yeah, and you're right. It was very evident in the playoffs that they needed an extra scorer. I mean, Duncan Robinson was the only other guy that could show up and score at times. Jalen Duren was missing in the playoffs.
Correct.
He was the number 2 guy on the team in scoring after Cade Cunningham. So, so that's interesting, man. So that's a good point.
That is interesting. And Duren's another one. That I think he's up for they just did the max contract on him. And, that's a lot of money being eaten. And obviously the other thing is they need more 3-point shooting. Duncan Robinson was shooting. They need something to stretch the court, because it seems like once everything was focused on Cade, they kind of shut down the offense for Detroit. And when they were playing Orlando in particular, there was just long stretches of no scoring. Clunk, 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 clunk. And that can't be. Regarding their salary cap, they're $73.9 million over the cap. when we're looking at draft day, we have another kind of statistic here regarding draft day trade, and I think they're likely to do a draft day trade.
Interesting.
Yeah, not highly likely, but I think they are likely.
Okay.
Players that I think are going to be gone in terms of that potentially that draft day, potentially just not returning. I think Beef Stew's gone. I think Karis LeVert is gone, and I think Marcus Sasser is gone. I think those are the three players that I think will not return. Go ahead. You sound like you wanted to say something.
No.
Oh, yep. Yeah. So to me, I think that those are players, especially Isaiah Stewart. Isaiah Stewart is a heavily defensive player, which is great, but I think they need a little more offense. They need somebody that's a little more balanced. And Beef Stew's just too heavily on the defensive end, and not only that, he's a little nuts too. So right, so he's a little hard to control. Free agents to target. Now, I know that Eddie might have done this a little differently. I primarily focused on players that were actually free agents as opposed to a trade. I did have Cam Johnson potentially a trade to try to get someone like that. But the players, I'm going to have similar players for a lot of players because I think a lot of teams are looking for the same thing. But Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Shay's, is that not Shay's? Shay's cousin, right? That's Shay's cousin. Yeah. And then Ty Jerome, I think, would be someone that they'd want to look at. Luke Kennard and Naz Reid. I think those are players that they should have on their radar in regards to free agents.
To trade, because these guys are not like free agents.
I believe Nickeil Walker, Ty Jerome, and Luke Kennard, I believe, are all free agents coming up, or at least
I know Luke Kennard is for sure.
Yeah. With team options. In terms of their draft, they got the 21st pick in the draft. I've identified potentially three players that I think they should be looking at. One is Bennett Sturtz from Iowa, 6'4" point guard. He's good. He's got a good ball control player, kind of a mid-range and long-distance scorer. I wouldn't say he's elite, but he's a consistent scorer. Isaiah Evans, who's 6'6" out of Duke, good perimeter scorer, real good shooter. And then the third one is Christian Anderson. He's a 6'3" guard out of Texas Tech, really good shot creator and has a deep range in terms of his scoring. So as you notice here, the primary focus here in the draft was shooting. A little more consistent with Bennett, a little more deep with Christian Anderson, and overall Isaiah Evans, who's a good both perimeter shooter and long distance shooter. And that's my spiel there for Detroit. And I think I have the next team as well, which is
Cleveland. No, I'm going to do the Bucks now.
Okay, all right, you're going to do the Bucks. Okay, I'm seeing that.
Alternate. So, all right, so the Bucks. So, Milwaukee Bucks offensive rating 25th in the league at 112.9 per game. Defensive rating, they're 27th in the league, 119.4. Their net rating is negative 6.49. That's 25th in the league. This is the team that is likely going to lose Giannis Antetokounmpo. So those numbers are going to get worse next year.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So starter scoring, they are 23rd in the league at 72.7 points per game. And then their bench scoring is 13th in the league at 37.9 points per game. Now, as far as roster needs, it's interesting because I had the same comment from last year, and it's going to apply here again. So I think they need an influx of younger, athletic, scoring players, bro. They need it badly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I think they also need a new small forward. I think Kuzma isn't a good fit for this team. And I think they need to figure out, and he's also kind of expensive too. So, but as far as salary cap, they're sixth. They're sixth they're 50.6 million over the cap. So that's sixth best in the league, believe it or not. And
that's
then
crazy.
The as far as draft day trade, it's likely, it's possible because they need a lot of help. Now they do have the 10th pick in the draft, which we'll get to. But the players that are likely gone, Giannis Antetokounmpo. I mean, he's being he's being tied to Miami. He's being potentially tied to the Warriors. Although that's not really tied. That's more of like a dream for the Warriors to get him. But he wants to go to Miami. I mean, and New York is another one too. Especially if they win the championship, he's going to want to do that, right? Yeah. But then you talked about the Thunder being a potential destination for Giannis. Because just like you made the analogy to Kevin Durant joining the Warriors when the Warriors got ousted by the Cavs. This is the same kind of thing where the Spurs ousted the Oklahoma City Thunder, and we saw that Chet Holmgren isn't really a 2. Jalen Williams is the number 2, but you bring Giannis, it's going to be an interesting combination, and you put him and Shea together, right? So, but anyway, I think Giannis is gone. I think Andre Jackson is also gone. He's not a big hit. He's only 2.4 million. But then they already aforementioned Kyle Kuzma. I think he's another guy that's going to be gone. I think they need a new small forward, and Kyle Kuzma is at $20.5 million, so it's going to be hard to kind of trade him. Free agents to target. Okay, now these are some of the guys I think a lot of teams are going to go after. So Anthony Simons, I think, is a guy that's going to be coveted because he's a bench scoring guy. He's a veteran bench scoring athletic scorer. Norman Powell is another one. The only thing is that those guys are kind of expensive. Ayo Dosunmu of the Minnesota Timberwolves, he's a free agent as well. I think the Minnesota Timberwolves may want to keep him because of how well he played in these playoffs. But he's a free agent. Yusuf Nurkic of the Utah Jazz. I think there's another one that could be a target for the Bucks. So as far as the draft day picks, they only have one first round pick. They have the 10th pick, and these are the names that I have right now. So I have Nate Ament out of Tennessee. This guy is being his player comparison is Zachary Sarche, Austin Crosher, Keith Van Horn kind of type. This guy came out of Tennessee, is 6'10", 211 pounds, has a huge wingspan. He's highly skilled offensively, has a good outside shot, does have some limitations athletically, and he could be more of a role player, really than a star. But he's got size. He's athletic. So I think that's a guy they might target. Another guy they might target is LeBaron Fallon out of Alabama, 6'3", point guard. He is, it's somebody that is compared to Tyrese Maxey Light, believe it or not, man. He's being compared to Tyrese Maxey. So that's an interesting comparison. Braden Burries out of Arizona is another one. He is a shooting guard at 6'4", 6'3". He's got good size. He's got a wingspan of about 6'6". He's 215 pounds. So 6'4", 215. He's pretty hefty as a point guard. He's being compared to Jared McCain, which is interesting. So, and then the last one is a player that we know and heard of here in Warriorland because Kareem Lopez is a guy that is being talked about for the Warriors, right? But the Warriors had the number 11th pick. This is the 10th pick, so it's possible that the Bucks might take that player away from the Warriors if the Warriors were really looking at this guy. But this guy is from Mexico. He's 6'9". He is a small forward and a wingspan of 6'11 and a half, which is huge. And he's probably considered one of the more unheralded, underrated players in this draft. He's being compared to a Tristan da Silva out of the Orlando Magic. So those are the players that I have, man. So all right, man. So that's it for the Bucks, man. Now we move on to the Cavs.
All right. So for the Cavs, offensive rating, defensive rating, net rating, respectively. Offensive, they were ranked 6th at 118.3. Defensive rating, they were ranked 15th at 114.1. And net rating, they were ranked 9th at with a defensive rating, a positive of 4.1. Their starter scoring, ranked 4th in the league, 86.1. They went a little deeper than the Pistons. So again, kind of just lining that up, that stat, I find that fascinating. And they were 25th in bench scoring at 33.4. So obviously they were starter heavy. They were starter heavy. Yep. I think they need a true 3-and-D wing. They need better perimeter defense. They need a backup point guard. Obviously they had Winston Garland, who was a pretty good point guard. They traded him halfway through the season or during the season for James Harden. I believe James Harden is either renegotiating a contract or still has a year or two left on his current contract. I think it's one of those two, but I've heard that he intends to stay there or re-sign in Cleveland. For the salary cap, they're $98.4 million over the cap.
Oh, wow.
I do think that a draft day trade is likely for them. They've got some pieces and some things they're going to want to do, and I think that they're nothing extreme, but I think that it is likely that they'll do a trade. Players that for me I think are likely gone: Dean Wade, Larry Nance Jr., Thomas Bryant, Keon Ellis, and Craig Porter Jr. I think those players are either traded and or just outright not re-signed. For free agent targets, I mentioned this before because I think that these are the type of players that a lot of teams are going to be looking for is Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Ty Jerome, those two, and then Dorian Finney-Smith, I think would be a good fit in terms of a 3-and-D type wing player. They do have the 29th pick in the first round this year. A couple things that I think they're going to be looking at here is also they have two good big men in Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, but I think they might need a third one. just someone who can help a little more on the defensive end. Mobley can kind of play power forward at times, and so I'm thinking a backup center. So Henry
Yeah.
Vassar out of Estonia, he's a 7-footer, real good passer, can stretch the floor, a little bit of a shooter. We've got also Malik Thomas. He's a 6'4" guard out of Arizona. He's athletic. He can create his own shots. He could be like a 6-man type of guy. And then third that I have here is Alex Caravan, 6'8" out of
Oh yeah,
UConn.
UConn. Yep.
Yeah, out of UConn. You have high IQ guy. He's good shooter. I think he's ready-made kind of role player. So I think that that would be good. Hey Eddie, remind me because your memory is always better than mine. Remember 2 years ago, Cleveland drafted that kid, number 24, that played, and I thought he was really good in the summer league.
Jalen Tyson.
Yeah.
Out of Cal. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. So I have to check in on how he's been doing. I haven't seen a lot of him. I know
He looks pretty
played
good,
some
man.
minutes. Yeah, he played some
He
minutes.
got some minutes in the playoffs, man. He looks pretty good.
Yeah. So I'm thinking Alex Caravan is sort of in that mold. That type of
Yep.
player kind of comes in and is a smart heads up player. And that's my line item for Cleveland.
All right, man. So now we're gonna go to the Pacers. Now the Pacers don't have a pick in this draft, so we're not gonna cover that. But
Okay.
this team, sorely missed Halliburton. Sorely missed him. I mean, this team went to crap after Halliburton got hurt, last in the playoffs last season. So, but
Yeah.
he's due back, beginning of the season. But the Pacers, their offensive rating, they're 28th in the league at 111.01. Now, I have a feeling that's offensive rating will go way back up once Halliburton comes back. Their defensive rating, they're 24th in the league at 118.97. Their net rating is 26th in the league at negative 7.96 points. That's crazy, huh?
That
Now,
is.
as far as starting scoring, the starter scoring, they're 25th in the league at 70.9 points per game. That's how many points their starters score per game on average. And then their bench scoring is 41.5, and that's 10th best in the league, which is an interesting little tidbit there. As far as roster needs, man, not much. This team is actually pretty deep, man. And I'm surprised that they were that bad. But they just need Halliburton back. This, like I said, this team is deep. I think they need to develop Cam Jones, who was their draft pick from last year, as well as Johnny Furphy. These two guys, they need to develop these guys and get some return for getting those draft picks. So as far as over or under salary cap, every team that we're covering is over the salary cap. There's nobody under the salary cap. I think there's only one team that was barely over the salary cap. I forgot who it was, but I know we covered them. We're going to cover them anyway. They're 47.4 million above the salary cap. That's fifth best in the league. Now, as far as draft day trade, they can't make any trades, man. They have no picks this season, but they might have to maybe do some picks, for that they have in the future to maybe get somebody in this draft, or buy their way into, a second round pick or some sort. But it's highly unlikely. I think they're going to make a draft day trade. Now, as far as players likely gone, I think Micah Potter, he's at 2.8 million. He's not. Everybody else, I think, is pretty much signed and long term. But I think as far as free agents to target, you mentioned Keon Ellis. I think he'd be a good fit here, man, because he's a defensive minded guy. They need defense, man. Okay, this is a very good offensive team when Halliburton plays, but defensively, that's always been their issue. Now, Keon Ellis would be a player to target for them. I think Gary Payton of the Warriors would be a good player to target for them too. D'Anthony Melton is another one. Okay, but D'Anthony Melton I think is a player option for the Warriors, so I think he's probably going to resign anyway with the Warriors. But I think they need I think he's going to command for more money, though, in my opinion. But and then Contavious Caldwell-Pope is another one. I think all these three, all four of these players are all defensive minded. I think they need more of that. Right?
I agree.
Their team, like I said, is pretty deep. That if you look at their roster, they have Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Pascal Siakam. Now they have newly acquired Ivica Zubac of the Clippers. That's the starting five. That's a pretty good starting five, man. Right?
Not bad.
Then you got T.J. McConnell. We all love him. Then you got Ben Shepherd, who's a pretty good defensive minded guy. Then you got Jarris Walker, Obi Toppin. Those. I mean, this team is pretty deep, man. Just reading all those players right there, it's a pretty good team. And I mentioned, Cam Jones and Johnny Furphy. These guys are way down in the depth chart, but these are guys that I think they need to develop more in order to get some more magic potentially out of these guys. So,
Right.
so that's it for the Pacers, man. So now
All
we'll
right.
on to the last one for the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference today.
Your Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
All right. So the Bulls, offensive rating ranked 25th, 112.1. Defensive rating ranked 22nd, 117.4. Overall net rating negative 5.3, ranked 23rd. I'll give you a guess where they were in the rankings overall. Not a very good team. They actually started off pretty good, and then they actually
Oh,
started
by the
off.
way, before we forget, man, we gotta give a shout out and rest in peace, Stacey King. He just passed away.
Yes,
He's a longtime
yes,
Bull. He had that
yep.
announcer that unbelievable that call that he had when Josh Giddey won the game. Do you remember
Yeah.
that? He's making
No,
reference to Stanford and Son. Did you ever
no,
see
no,
this
no,
one?
no,
Oh,
no,
dude,
no, no.
I gotta show you the clip. It's hilarious. It's funny because he starts making reference to Sanford and Son. He goes, "Oh no, Elizabeth, I'm
Thank you,
coming to get you."
thank you. Wow.
Dude, it was hilarious. It's a great
Okay.
call, man. But I'd be remiss to not mention Stacey
Yeah,
King, who
and
was
I
a
remember
Bull.
Stacey
So
King playing. Yeah, I
yeah,
remember.
and
Yep.
he was the color announcer for the Bulls as well. So I
Okay.
just want to
All
bring it
right.
up.
Rest in peace, Stacey. Let's see, where were we? Starter scoring. They're ranked 24th, 72.7. And interesting stat, they're fifth best in the league at 43.6 for their bench scoring, which again is interesting.
No
So
way, really?
yeah, so
Bulls.
one of the trends I'm seeing is if your bench is good, you suck.
Interesting.
Basically. So
Yeah.
roster needs, they need a starting center. They need 3-point shooting. Man, who doesn't need 3-point shooting in this league? And they
Yep.
need a two-way wing. They are negative 74.1 over the cap. They have a boatload of draft picks, and I think that a draft day trade with them is highly likely.
Okay.
Players that I think are going to be gone: Anthony Simons, who you mentioned earlier as a
Yep.
potential fit for one of the teams, and then Colin Sexton, who they traded for, which they got from
Utah.
Utah. Yeah,
Yep.
so I think
Oh
those
no,
two
is it
players.
Utah? No, I think it might have been.
It was
No,
Utah.
yeah. I think it was Utah. No, it might have been the Hornets. I think it was the Hornets.
Was it the Hornets?
Yeah,
I
because
thought it was the
he went
Utah
from
trade.
Utah to the Hornets, and then I think from there he went to the Bulls.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, free agents that I got, kind of the same three guys I've been mentioning because I think they're good fits for a lot of these teams: Naz Reid, Walker, and Ty Jerome. In terms of their draft picks, they in the first round they've got the 4th and 15th pick. In the second round, they've got the 38th and 56th pick. Due to the size of my notes, I don't have a lot of information on all of these players. But for the 4th pick, I think we're looking at Caleb Wilson potentially,
Okay.
Darius Acuff, and Nate Ament, three highly regarded players in the league. At 15, you mentioned Kareem Lopez. I think he's potentially could be there at the 15th pick. Braylon Mullins and Hans Steinbeck. And then when we get deeper in the draft, we start getting into people nobody knows. We got Zuby Ejiofor. We got Trevin Brazil and Baba Miller for the 38th pick. And then for our 56th pick, we've got Malik Brown, Rafael Castro, and Toby Awaka. Looking at those types of players. One thing I had a question for you, Eddie. You said Austin, the last team, Austin Crozier, you said?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
That was
That
the
just
reference.
remember Austin Crozier?
That's the guy.
No, you're
That's the
saying
guy.
no. I'm talking about that's his son?
The guy who played for the guy who played for the Indiana Pacers. Yeah. Yeah. That's the guy.
You had him as a player now?
No, that the one of the players that is in
Oh,
this
the
draft is
comparable.
being
Oh, the
compared
comparable. Okay,
to
okay,
Austin
gotcha.
Crozier.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And by the way, one thing I'll tell you, you remember my DJ Bakir, right, from my party?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So he's friends with Austin Crozier.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Austin
Yeah.
Crozier was a good player.
Yeah, I liked him too, man.
Yeah, yeah, he was solid.
Yep.
He was problematic. He's a tough guy. I remember.
No, I agree, man. I liked him, man. I thought he was good too.
Yeah. All right. All right. So
All right,
that's
man.
it for the Chicago Bulls.
All right, man. So we finished up the Central Division of the Eastern Conference. We have 5 more teams to go. So we're going to go ahead and now pivot to the Western Conference. We have the Southwest Division of the Western Conference that we're going to cover. So these are the Spurs, the Mavs, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Pelicans. I'll go ahead and start off with the Spurs. Now, the Spurs are the team that right now are in the finals. And, we talked a lot about them in the other show that we just had where we talked about the finals. So we're not going to belabor the point and talk about that again. But the Spurs, this team, their offensive rating is 119.68. That's 4th best in the league. Defensive rating, 111.41, 3rd best in the league. Net rating is 8.27 positive. That's second best in the league, only behind the Thunder. It's a
Yeah.
ridiculous season this team has had,
Yep.
man.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Now,
And so that was the one that I said tied for second with Detroit, because Detroit was the same one. And so you could
gotcha.
argue second, third. Basically, I
Yep.
called it tied for second.
Yep.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah,
So
finish what you're saying.
starter scoring, man, they're at 78.1, 15th best in the league. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
Bench scoring is at 41.7, ninth best in the league. And that
That's a
kind of
lot of
throws
Dylan
out
Harper.
the theory, right? That, the bench scoring is good. That means usually the team is not that good. But this team is their bench scoring is top 10, and yet, their starter scoring is like right in the middle of the pack.
Well,
Interesting, huh?
I'd be curious how much Dylan Harper plays a role in that, because he was
Yeah,
a bench
because he
player
missed a
most
lot
of
of
the
the
year.
season though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got hurt. But as far as roster needs, man, I think these guys need a dirty work power forward. Someone like a Beef Stew might be good for this team, man.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they
Yeah.
also need a backup point guard. I mean, Dylan Harper is a backup point guard to De'Aaron Fox, but I think they also probably need somebody else. Because Dylan Harper is kind of a combo guard. He's not really a true point guard. But I think that they could use a backup point guard. As far as salary cap, this team is 10th best in the league. They're 64.8 million above the cap. That's 10th best in the league. And as far as draft day trade, I think it's likely, man. They have a lot of picks, right? And they probably need, they have a lot of veterans on their team that they're probably going to shed a lot of salary cap here and go after some players. But I
Yep.
think the players that are likely gone, I think are Kelly Olynyk, 25.5 million. Okay, he's just sitting on the bench, man. Then you got Harrison Barnes, who's at 28.5 million. He's another one I think is likely going to be gone. It's mainly because of their payroll, right? It's their youth. Those two are big. So as far as free agents to target, I think Jock Lawndale would be a good guy out of St. Mary's. He plays for the Memphis Grizzlies, I think, right now. Kobe White out of the used to play for the Bulls, but he plays for now the Charlotte Hornets. He's a guy that I think would be coveted to be a kind of a scoring guy coming off the bench, or maybe even a backup point guard. Then you have Anthony Simons, another guy who can shoot, and a guy, dude, I think would be a perfect fit for this team, believe it or not, kind of fits that dirty work power forward kind of personality. Draymond Green, dude. Draymond Green would be a great fit for this team, dude.
Yes, he would.
He would be a really good fit for this team.
Yeah.
So, okay. So then as far as draft picks,
you know what's interesting? I'm interested during the offseason if they make any decisions between De'Aaron Fox and Dylan Harper.
You mean as far as whether to keep them or
potentially trade De'Aaron Fox away?
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible.
Yeah, no, I'm curious. I'm picking on him when he's down right now, and I don't.
Yeah, he had a really crap game, man.
But I mean, Dylan Harper has really risen to the occasion.
Dude, as a rookie.
And so if you can save some money to get someone like Draymond Green, why not?
Yeah.
But go ahead, finish what you're saying.
Yeah, you could see though, bro, that Dylan Harper being the number 2 pick, you can see it why, in these finals. You can see why. I mean, Cooper Flagg he's an unbelievable talent, man. I mean, you can see he was above and beyond everybody else. So you can understand why he was number 1 pick. But then this guy being number 2 looks pretty good. Then your Ace Bailey guy, I think, was number 3. He's not as good as Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper looks like a better player, but it's still early. The bigger guys kind of develop later anyway. So, so as far as draft picks, they have 4 picks in this draft. They have 1 in the first round at 20th. Then they have 3 in the second round at 35, 42, and 44. So for the number 20, for the 20th pick, the guys that I have targeted here are Jaden Quaintance. Yeah, they're Jaden Quaintance of Kentucky, 6'10" wing. This guy is an elite defensive talent, versatile defensive instincts. He's not that great offensively, but he had a torn ACL, so that's something that kind of held him out of basketball for a while. But he's being compared to a Tristan Thompson who just retired, right? And then also Jalen Duren. He's also being compared to him as well. I mean, Jalen Duren's a pretty good player, and Tristan Thompson was a pretty good player early in his career. Right? So
I agree.
That's a pretty good comparison. The other guy that is showing up, dude, and this was your boy from our rookie, from our NCAA tournament pool that we did in Reno, Terrace Reed. Remember him? Terrace Reed at a UConn. So 6'10", 264 pounds, dude. This dude's a big dude, man.
Big time rebounder, though.
Yeah.
Big time rebounder.
Yeah, his wingspan is 7'4.5". Okay, 7'4 1/4". So he's a big burly guy, dude. And he's being compared to a Charles Oakley. Okay, so as far as
Yeah,
player style, right? Just the
I
type
kind
of
of
player.
see it,
Yeah,
but
yeah. So all right. So then we go to the number. Now we go to the second round. So we had the 35 pick and the 35th pick. You already mentioned this guy, uh, Bubba or Baba Miller. That's a tough
yeah, Baba
name.
Miller.
Evan Miller
Baba.
he's out of Cincinnati. Okay, he's a power forward, 6'11", 225. He's a very skilled forward. Kind of plays like a guard, and because he was essentially a guard initially, and then he got a growth spurt, and so he's still kind of trying to kind of figure out his new frame because from 6'2" to 6'11", over a period of time it's a lot, and that changes your entire game.
Yeah.
But look at Wemby. He's 7'5" and he plays like a guard, man. Anyway, bro. So then the other guy is Trevin Brazil. That's another guy you mentioned. He's a power forward out of Arkansas. He's 215 pounds, 6'10". He's definitely an athletic guy, and he has a good 3-point shot. He is being compared to a Tyrus Thomas, who wasn't really a big player in the NBA, and he's also being compared to Clee Anthony Early. Again, another not a big when you get compared to guys that really didn't make it in the NBA that well,
Yeah.
it's not a really
Yeah.
good sign. But
No.
I think it's just playing style, right? It's just that's it. Um, so then the 35th pick, another guy they should target is Jaden Bradley out of Arizona. He's a point guard, 6'3.5", 6'6", wingspan, very athletic, long armed. Has a quick first step, has a lot of upside to developing his game. So he's considered one of the best 25 players in this draft. Interestingly enough, there's no player comparison for him. And then for the 42 and the 44 pick, I'm just going to go ahead and pick three players out of these. Joshua Jefferson at Iowa State is power forward. He's 6'8", 246 pounds. He is a big bodied forward, has an impressive all around game. No comparison for this player. Then you have Trey Kaufman Wren out of Purdue, 6'9", power forward. He's 240 pounds. He's another highly skilled forward, fundamentally sound and really smart, and can hit a 3-point shot. That's a very interesting little description about this guy. Then you got Dylan Mitchell out of St. John's, 6'7", 195 pounds, big bouncy forward, very athletic. He has they could say he's great body control, and his player comp is Kevin Knox. Remember Kevin Knox for the
I
Warriors?
remember Kevin Knox.
He
Yeah.
played for he was like a lottery pick, and he played for the Knicks too. And then
Yeah.
Travis Outlaw is another guy that he's being compared to. So those are it, man. So that's it for the Spurs, man. So
All
now
right.
we're gonna go to the
The Dallas
Mavs.
Mavericks.
Yeah.
The Mavs. All right. Regarding their ratings this year, offensively, ranked 27th at 110.3. Defensive rating, they were ranked 19th at 115.5, with an overall net rating of negative 5.2, ranking them 22nd. Their starter scoring, 26th in the league at 70.9, and their bench scoring, 43.3, ranked at 6. So yet again, that trend at least is continuing, Eddie.
Right. Right.
In terms of their needs, they're going to need a point guard, most likely a backup point guard. Although I don't know what they're deciding to do with Kyrie Irving. There's a lot of speculation. Obviously, he's going to
Right.
return from his injury,
Right.
so we'll see how that plays out. They obviously also fired Jason Kidd.
Yep.
They got a new GM. So it seems like there was a lot of Oliver Norths on the
For
on that
sure. For
on the
sure.
shrapnel for the
Yep.
trade of Luka.
Yep.
Which, by the way, I'd like to point out, just to rub it in, and not picking on Mavericks fans, but just misery loves company. The Warriors have a long history of trading away players that have become something. Look up Kevin McHale, look up Bernard King, look up Robert Parrish, look
Oh,
up.
it's
I mean,
huge.
the list goes on.
It's
So
huge, dude.
yeah, so just commiserating with you, Dallas fans. You traded a backcourt of Jalen Brunson and Luka Doncic. I don't know what to tell you there, guys.
Yes.
That hurts.
Yeah.
That hurts. That's all I'm gonna say. And again, not poking, but wow.
Yeah. I agree.
So yes, and they need perimeter shooting and they need wing depth. Overall, they're negative 84.4 million over the cap. I do think they have 3 draft day picks. I think they're highly likely to make a trade. I think they're going to be active. And one of the players that I think they're going to be active with, which I think will be gone, is Daniel Gafford. I think he's a good player, but I think they're looking to get value back for him.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a player that could be on the way out. Spencer Dinwiddie, who was a player that's gone back and forth with them a couple of times,
Yep.
I think will most likely be gone. And Dante Exum is the third player that I have on my list here as players that are likely gone. My free agent targets, I'm going to be repetitive here again because I think these are guys that fit the bill. Jerome Walker and Luke Kennard, I think, are free agent targets that this team could use. Especially Ty Jerome's going to be really popular in regards to a backup point guard who can spot start, who can do a couple of things. I think whatever team he goes to, he's going to really kind of fit in well because he can fit a lot of roles.
And to
In
follow your
terms of
theme, dude, he's another guy that was on the Warriors,
yeah, another guy that was on the Warriors
and they gave up on him too early, man.
as well as the point guard over there in Milwaukee was another one, Rollins.
Yeah, Ryan Rollins.
Well, yeah, Ryan
Yep.
Rollins. So it goes
Yep.
on, Nick Mavs fans. You're not the only ones, but those two hurt. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
In terms of the draft picks, they got 2 picks in the first round, the 9th and the 30th, and then in the second round they have the 48th. For the 9th pick, we're looking potentially at Mikael Brown, Braden Burris, and Nate Ament, all players I think that we've mentioned up to this point. For the last pick of the first round, we're looking at Alex Caravan, Malik Thomas, and Isaiah Evans. And then for the 48th pick, I've got 3 people identified here: Jacoby Gillespie, Zuby Ejiofor, and a player by the name of Aaron Nkrumah. I can't really say his name, but I'm sure I butchered it, so I apologize, Aaron, or Aaron, depending on how you go.
Right.
Yep, but those are my updates there for the Dallas Mavericks.
All right, brother. All right, now we're going to go to the Houston Rockets. Okay, the Houston Rockets.
Oh, this is
Wow. Okay, now they had an offensive rating of 118.69, which is 8th best in the league. Defensive rating was 113.3, which is 6th best in the league, and their net rating is 5.39, which is 6th best in the league. This team is actually pretty good, man. Their starter scoring is number 1, 87.6 points a game from their starters. Their bench scoring is dead last at 27.6 points per game, and they're 30th. Now, what do they need? They need bench scoring big time. I mean, that tells you right there. At 30th, they need bench scoring. But they also need Fred VanVleet. That was very evident in the playoffs. They need another shooter. Kevin Durant can't do it all by himself. This team doesn't have much shooting. Kevin Durant and Fred VanVleet are the shooters. And if they had Fred VanVleet, I think they could have gone a lot farther in the playoffs this year. Over under the salary cap. So they're over. Everybody's over 61.3 million over the salary cap. That's 9th best in the NBA out of 30 teams. Draft day trade. I think highly unlikely. I don't think they're going to make a trade, even though they have 2 draft picks this year. The player's likely gone. I think JD Davidson. You never see that guy play. He's a 2.54 million. Not a big hit, but I think that's a guy that it could be gone. Now, free agents to target, man. Now, I have a lot of guys here that I think could be good fits. That kind of fits the bench scoring, kind of, what they need for, just beef up that bench. CJ McCollum, I think this guy would be an awesome fit here, man. Kobe White, another one would be a good fit. Colin Sexton, Tim Hardaway, and another guy, Kristaps Porzingis. Interesting, right? Yeah, interesting. So,
yeah.
All right. So then as far as their draft picks, they have second round picks. They have 2 of them. They have one at 39 and then one at 53. So for the 39th pick, I have the Jack Kale of Germany. He is a point guard at 6'5". He's 173 pounds. He's an athletic guard who can essentially use his physical tools and make it in the NBA. They have no player comparison to this guy. Jaden Bradley, we've already brought him up out of Arizona. He's a guy that doesn't not being compared to anybody, but he's considered one of the best 25 players in this draft. Those are the ones for number 39. For number 53, we have Emmanuel Sharp, shooting guard out of Houston, 6'3", 210 pounds. He's considered a highly skilled defensive player, and also a very good shooter. So there's no player comparison to him right now that I've seen. And then the other guy at number 53 that they should target is Aaron Nkrumah. He's at a Tennessee State. He's a shooting guard.
That's the one I just mentioned.
Yeah. So he's a 6'5", 189 pounds, athletic wing, and essentially can score at all levels. So that's it for the Rockets, brother.
All right, moving on to the Memphis Grizzlies. Your Memphis Grizzlies. All right, getting into the numbers here. Offensive rating, ranked 23rd, 113.5 or 0.05. Defensive rating, 118.95, also ranked 23rd. So they were the 23rd best offense and they were the 21st best defense. Net rating, a negative 5.9 for 24th. Man, they were pretty much consistent, if anything, across
Yep.
the board. 23, 23, 24.
There
Starter
you go.
scoring. This is almost the polar opposite of the numbers you just read for Houston. The starter scoring, 28th, 68.6. Bench scoring, number one,
Absolutely.
46 points a game. So
Absolutely.
this team was got a good bench or a horrible starting, however you want to look at that.
A
What?
lot of injuries, I think, caused it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that lot.
John Morant being hurt for a
Yep,
long time, then
yep.
Triple J being dealt. They had that
Uh,
other guy,
uh,
Santil Dama was hurt for a long
yeah,
time.
yeah.
Uh,
The center
yeah,
was hurt for a good
Zach
portion of the
Edey,
year. Zach Edey,
Was
yeah,
hurt. Yep, for a
yep,
long time.
yep,
So yeah,
yep,
that's what caused this.
yeah. So in terms of roster needs, they need shooting, they need size, but more importantly, as Eddie mentioned, they need health. They need those players to stay healthy. They're actually number one in the salary cap at negative 1.16 million,
That's the one. That was the
that
team.
that is crazy. Like even the best salary cap team is still over the cap. That
Yes.
just shows you nowadays
Yes.
what that's like. I think
Yes.
draft day trade is highly likely. They need a lot of different things. They got a lot of young players. They've got some draft picks. I think they're going to make some action happen. And I think one of those highly draft, which don't have them under players likely gone, but is what are they going to do with John Morant? Can they get a pick out of him? Can they get a player out of him? I think for the most part, he's worn out his welcome in Memphis.
I think so.
I think they're going to try to look to remove him. But depends on what they can get for him. I think his value's never been lower than it is today. So we'll see how that plays out. And player likely gone, KCP, right? Contavious Caldwell Pope.
Yep.
He's got a salary cap of 21.6 million. So we're looking at him most likely being released, traded, or not re-signed. Free agents here. Jonathan Kuminga, although I don't believe he's a free agent, but he's someone that would definitely get some playing time there. Have a position. The MS Queta is another one. Anthony Simons and John Collins. John Collins actually had a pretty good season
Yes.
was it in Houston, right? He was in Houston this past year. No,
Uh,
Utah.
Utah.
Yeah, Utah. He had a pretty good season. So those are four players that I think would help with either shooting, size, or health.
Right.
Jonathan Kuminga's had a questionable health. Anthony Simons has been hurt for a minute, but I think overall these are players that could help that team. Draft picks. They got 2 draft picks in the first round and 1 in the second round. They've got the third pick. They're going to have a lot to choose from there. Carlos Boozer potentially, or Cam Boozer. I'm showing my age. He'll talk about his papa, Cam Boozer, who in my opinion I'm not very high on, but everyone's got him kind of deemed as the third pick behind Peterson and the kid out of BYU.
Bonsa.
Yeah, Bonsa. And then we've got Caleb Wilson. He's a power forward out of North Carolina, potentially at that third pick. And then Darius Acuff, the point guard out of Arkansas, a really high scoring, really pretty good player out of Arkansas. Like watching him play. At the 16th pick, potentially 2 players there. Nate Ament out of Tennessee, and then Chris Senick out of Houston, center. So those are 2 players there that could be identified at the 16th spot. And then in the early second round, Malik Thomas out of Arkansas, shooting guard, and then Alex Caravan, who I mentioned earlier, who's a small forward out of UConn, potentially could fit at that 32nd pick. But something tells me that Memphis is going to trade one of those picks, potentially the 16th pick, maybe, unless there's something they want at the number 3 pick. If they could package something like John Moran and that number 3 pick for something of significant value, maybe it's something they go for. But to me, they're in a little bit of a bind with some of the players and some of the things they've got to do. If I was them, I'd keep all my picks, but I do think they're going to trade one of those away.
Well, dude, they have so much salary cap space, man. They got a lot of flexibility, man. They should be able to do something, man.
Correct, but I don't know if they're necessarily in a position to try to get a seasoned veteran. I think they need to pick up some youth and rebuild. You and I jokingly, and again, I'm always going to rely on your memory, Eddie, because my memory's shot to crap. But our favorite Dylan, right? Dylan the villain, is that was in Houston and now is in
Dylan Brooks.
Dylan Brooks. The Dylan Brooks effect. He leaves Memphis, they start to suck. He leaves Houston, for favorite. He's over in Phoenix and they do better than anticipated.
Yep.
So we'll see what kind of wake Dylan Brooks leaves Memphis, but I do think that they had Dylan Brooks, he's gone. They got the guard over there that's now in Orlando, um, Bain, and
Oh, yeah, Desmond Bain.
Desmond Bain. They let him go. They got Triple J that's now in Utah.
Yep.
Those are pretty solid players, and they couldn't
Yes.
really win with them.
Yes. Yes.
So I think they've got to start new, but they've had youth, they've had good draft picks. I don't know what's going on in that organization. They should be better than they have been, in
I
my
agree.
opinion. John Moran, who's a dynamic player, Zach Edey, who had a pretty good rookie year, played better than I thought he would. He lost some weight. He was a little more mobile. I
Yes.
thought that he would be kind of slow, and he's done pretty good. So they've had some players. We'll see what they do. I just think that I don't know. I don't know what they need to do, but they're kind of in a weird spot
Rebuild.
to me.
They're in a
Yeah,
rebuild phase right now.
yeah, they're in a rebuild, but I don't know what to rebuild with.
Yeah, I hear you,
Yeah,
man. I
yeah.
hear you.
All right,
I agree.
back over to you.
All right, man. So this is the last one for tonight. So we have the New Orleans Pelicans. They are the 21st ranked offensive rated team in the league at 114.4 points per game. And then the defensive rating is 25th at 119.05 points per game, which gives them a net rating of negative 4.65, which is 21st in the league. Starter scoring, they're 14th, 78.2. And bench scoring, they're at 37.3, which is 15th. So they're right in the middle of the pack with respect to scoring for their roster. Roster needs health, big time. All right, this team's always had health issues, man. They need another veteran bench scoring option, I think, as well. So as far as over or under the salary cap, they're at 61.1 million over. That's eighth best. And as far as draft day trade, I think it's highly unlikely, man. They have 1 second round pick this year, so I don't think they're going to be making any moves. So players likely gone. I think Kevon Looney. I think he's going to be gone. He's a team option though. And then Carlo Matkovic. I think he's another guy that's going to be gone. He's also a team option. Free agents to target, brother. Tobias Harris. I think he'd be a good fit
Yeah.
here. Bradley
Okay.
Beal. Again, the need is another veteran bench scoring option. That's why I'm picking these guys. Tobias Harris, Bradley Beal, Norman Powell, Zach LaVine, D'Angelo Russell. All of these guys can score, right? All of them. So that's why I'm picking them. And they have they have Trey Murphy, who's a good player, right? They have Zion Williamson, who's a good player when he plays. Then they also have
Herb Jones is good.
Herb Jones is good, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. If the point guard stays healthy, he has been good historically.
Exactly. That's the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who plays for the Spurs.
Yep.
His name is
Murray.
Yeah,
Murray.
DeJounte Murray. That's it.
Yeah,
DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray.
Yeah,
Yep.
they have a talented squad, man. It's just that for whatever reason, they just it's injuries. That's the thing that just really haunts this team is the injuries. So you have the other guys that they have is Sadiq Bey, and he actually had a pretty good year.
Yep.
But they have some promising young guys. So they have Jordan Poole's on this team, dude. Jordan
Yep.
Poole. He's a total shadow of himself. He hasn't been the same since that punch.
Yep.
But they have Jeremiah Fears, who was a good rookie from last year out of Michigan State. He was good. And then you also got Derek Queen. Derek Queen actually
Queen.
had a
Yeah.
really good. Yeah, he had a really good
I think,
year.
dude, they
Right?
got they got talent, bro. They got
They
talent.
do. That they do.
Yeah.
They also have Jordan Hawkins, Eves Missy or Micey, however you want to say
Missy,
his
who
name.
had last year had a really good season, the previous season.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
this team has got some talent, man. So they should be better than where they're at, man. But so as far as draft targets, so I think that they have in the second round they have the 58th pick, and the guys that I have slated here is Melvin Council. He's a point guard out of Kansas, 6'4", 180 pounds. He is a wiry point guard. Isn't necessarily the most efficient guy, but he's stepped up a lot this year. So I think they think this guy could be a good diamond in the rough later in the draft. Malik Brown out of Duke. He's a power forward, 6'9", 215 pounds, considered a really, really good defender, and but doesn't really have a good offensive game. He could be like a big bench defensive specialist in this league. That's what the scouts are saying right now. And then the last guy that I think they should target is Toby Lawal out of Virginia Tech, 6'8", 215 pounds. awesome athlete. I mean, he could develop into a really good NBA forward. Has to work. He has a lot of work to do to grow into as well because he's still kind of developing in his frame. So that's what the scouts are saying about this guy. So, but anyway, dude, that's it, bro. We've
That's
covered
it.
all of the teams. We covered 10 teams in 50 minutes. That's not bad. So 5 minutes
Not
per
bad at all.
team. So this is Eddie Aparicio and this is Anthony Tuan Corral. We're also known as the Cisco Kids. We're going to be here again next week, and the teams that we're going to cover are going to be the Eastern Conference, going to be Atlantic Division. So that's the Celtics, the Knicks, the Raptors, the Sixers, and the Nets. And then for the Northwest of the Western Conference, the Northwest Division, it's going to be the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Wolves, the Blazers, and the Jazz. So that's our show for next week. We're going to do the pre-draft reviews for all those teams that we mentioned. This week, we went ahead and covered the Pistons, the Bucks, the Cavs, the Pacers, the Bulls, the Spurs, the Mavs, the Rockets, the Grizzlies, and the Pelicans. If you like our show, please give us a thumbs up. We're here every week, and you can find us at grumblingsmedia.com or wherever you find your podcasts. Anyway, everyone, this is Eddie Aparicio. This is Anthony Tuan Corral. And until next week, have a good rest of the week, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Hey, everybody, this is William Del Pilar, founder of Grumblings Media, and I want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our